Hey everybody, welcome to Obscurities in Miniatures. So today we're going to take a look at some very fun and interesting models from Cobramode. We're going to take a look at his Hikiga, which are a bunch of big, giant reptilian, amphibian things, for lack of a better word, but they're awesome. So you guys may remember we've shown off some of their Hanzaki, which were their little kind of Japanese-style salamanders. Got two of the painted ones right here. Salamanders are about human size, roughly. A couple others that I just primed up a while back and have been meaning to paint up. They are next in the queue. Like I said, a little bit smaller than a human. Goblin size, maybe. But that is not the case for the Hikiga. So I spent most of my afternoon actually trying to find where I put some of them. I've printed most of the ones that Cobramode has made so far. And we'll start with what I believe was the very first one. And these guys are just big, fun models. Now, first of all, I really appreciate the fact that it has a Asian, especially a more Chinese influence, especially with that weapon like that. Now, you'll have to forgive my poor print job, but is the first of the Hikiga that I have printed, and he actually stands up pretty decent there. What was his name? Hiki. They all start with Hiki something. Hikimoto. That's what it was. Hikimoto. And then later on after that, what is this? Looks like I have dripping resin on the table. Okay, that's weird, and I have no idea where that came from. One of the more recent ones I remember was this big cannon one, Hikihiru. And I do want to say that there was an option for either with or without the flames blasting out. Obviously, we have to have the flames because it looks even cooler that way. And I thought, as I'm always pondering, what could I possibly use these guys for? I've been in the mood since I don't have a ogre army anymore for Kings of War. I was thinking these guys would make a great set of models to get started on it. But really, the star of today, and I'm realizing this is where I guess that resin is coming from, is our new turtle wizard right here. This is Kamenosuke, with my horrible pronunciation, and I have not glued his hand on here just because actually it sits pretty nicely. You can see here, just a very fun, unique model. Now, my first thought was I saw this guy. He actually was a bit of a variant of him earlier on, where he actually was sitting on a cushion, I believe, but he was hanging around with a bunch of monkeys, fanning him with fans and whatnot. But I just loved this with the turtle and the skins and the decorations, and somehow resin dripping out of this after I don't know how many weeks he's probably been sitting around waiting to get finished. There was another Hikiga that was with a big, large sword that I broke off and snapped off, like literally as soon as I printed it. And unfortunately, I don't know where I put him. I think he was called Hikiyori. Now, what was interesting about him is he's actually available in the new Kickstarter. He was our 3D Printing Pros arena game that's going on right now. I'll put a link down there below if you guys are curious, as well as one for Cobramode's Patreon page. But speaking of the very Asian influence in a lot of these models, I got to show off one of my favorites here in just a sec. This guy does not want to stay on his base. This was the Qingshan swordsman Qingshan, I believe, or something like that. But it is a wuxia kung fu bird. And the details were absolutely crazy. Trying to get him off of the print sheet was just nuts. It was a very delicate model, and you can see I did not do the nicest job. Broke off one of his toes. It just was a challenge and a half, but it's such a cool model. It's, first of all, we don't see enough wuxia stuff on the tabletop, period, and that's something I'm constantly harping about, but the fact that he's just got a big, nice, fancy sword, and I believe he's supposed to perch like this on his base. Of course, he doesn't actually want to stand up when I need him to, and he is a little bit larger than a human. But honestly and truly, I think Cobramode makes some of the most unique models currently out there across any gaming spectrum. They're just fun, funky, interesting, and actually, I gotta say, really well supported if you go the pre-support route. Despite the crazy intricacy of some of these models, for the most part, I have not had any issues breaking them, other than our flying bird friend there. So if you're interested, do take a look. Like I said, I'll put a link down below for the Kickstarter that is currently going from 3D Printing Pro that has the bulked up swole version of the Hikiga. But I think they're very unique. You know, obviously they do have a bit of a frog look to them. But if you wanted to paint them up like lizards, hey, why not, right? Close enough. I love this guy. He came with a barbecue. Looked like something out of Monster Hunter as well. Just like his cannon. This thing has got to be bright red and gold. The cannon, that is. His skin, I'm not sure. I'm thinking light greens. Really, really bright light greens. This one, I'm not sure. Maybe a different color. But I'm absolutely thinking our Kaminosuke friend up here is going to need some super bright colors. And I have no idea what I'm going to put on that scroll. Another thing that I should mention is, I know sometimes people see these kinds of models and they think to themselves, well, what am I going to actually use any of this stuff for? Well, one of the cool things is Cobramode does put 5th edition D&D stats up for just about every single release that he's had at this point. So if you wanted to, you can just, hey, toss them into your current campaign. And again, I mean, on the screen, basically, you're only seeing a lot of the reptilian stuff and the random bird, but they've put out some really fun and funky stuff. And I know October they had a big, crazy Yeti, three-eyed Yeti wizard guy. And I haven't even attempted to print it yet. It just looked like such a challenge, but we'll see. We'll get into it one day. But honestly, my first thought was upon seeing this guy is, I've got myself a decent-looking slan. Yeah, I'll probably use these guys for ogres, but in the meantime, I don't like the Seraphon old skink star priests, slans, whatever they're called. Any of those guys, really. I want something stable and sturdy, and this is just a fun model. So if you're interested and if you're curious, and especially this guy seems a little bit more scaly, maybe he's just more wrinkly, I don't know, the age is showing. I think given a nice lizard paint job for a model like this, you could have yourself a great looking slan stand-in. And I mean, he's big enough too. Obviously, he's going to sit on a 50mm base or something. So something to keep in mind. Fun set of models, and definitely a fun sculptor to keep an eye on. That said, we'll put a link down below. And if you guys like these videos and you enjoy seeing this kind of stuff, I will mention every now and then, I did open up a Patreon because I would like to upgrade some of the equipment we've got here into the 21st century. So I will put a link down below for that as well. With that said, this has been High Lord Tamerlane with Obscurities and Miniatures, saying thanks for watching. We'll see you back here soon. Bye-bye.